Hello and welcome. Well, the quarter-final lineup here at Blackpool in the World 8-Ball Pool Championships is very nearly complete. A quick check on the caption will show you that we've 3 matches already out of the way, just one to be decided. Quinton Hann, the reigning champion, beating Danny Kinney 9-2. He'll face Jason Twist in the first semi-final, having beaten Lee Kendall, Jason, by 9-5. Chris Melling has destroyed Terry Hunt 9-2, a fantastic performance from the young man from Yorkshire, Chris Melling. He's through to the semi-final. Who will join him in that other semi? Carl Morris against Neil Blake. That's our featured quarter-final this time. I'm delighted to say that Lee Kendall is here. He's recovered from his defeat, and we're glad to see you with us, Lee. Thanks for joining us. How do you fancy this particular match is going to go?
Well, I think it'll be a tight match. I think Carl should just pinch it with being the number 2 seed and previous world champion. But his experience should take him through to the semi-finals.
It's an interesting blend, actually, isn't it? Experience against sort of youth, if you like, in that sort of way. Contrasting performances.
Contrasting styles as well.
Sure.
So it'll be a close match, but I think Carl will just pip it.
No real fireworks, though. Should be rather steadier than the game when we saw young Chris.
It's going to be hard to match Chris's performance by anybody in the tournament, but it'll be a closer game, this match, and it'll take some topping. If it tops it, we're in for a good night. OK, thank you for that. Let's have a look then, shall we, at the form, the record of these 2 players. Confirmation of Neil Blake there, hometown Cardiff, 30 years of age. He's unseeded in this event, but as you can see, he's been at the top for quite a long time. UK amateur champion back in '93, world quarter-finalist here last time. So that's not a bad effort from Neil Blake. He is experienced. I wonder, though, is he going to be good enough? And obviously you feel that Carl Morris is maybe just going to be too good for him, Lee. His experience should just carry him through. I mean, Carl's not playing on the top of his game, but when he gets out in front of the cameras, I'm sure he'll be okay. And this is his second year at the top of his pool career, so I'm sure he can come through this match. Let's have a look at the profile of Carl, because obviously this is a very talented young player. Look at that, he was world champion here 2 years ago. Obviously a brilliant young player, just 23 years of age, seeded 2, but many people saying he's not quite at his best, and maybe that's what Neil Blake will be hoping, that Carl Morris will continue not to fire on all cylinders, and Neil Blake will catch him just at the right time when he's not playing that well. Well, Neil got to the quarters last year, so that'll put him in good stead for this year, so that experience will help Neil. So if he takes his chances, who knows, it could be an upset tonight. OK, thanks for that. We'll be hearing more from Lee a little later, but right now I think we're just about ready to go. Let's join our MC, Alan Hughes.
Thank you, David. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 4th quarter-final match. Can I ask you to welcome the players and the last Welshman surviving in this tournament, and of course he is a former world quarter-finalist himself, and his opponent, a prolific tournament winner and a former Embassy world champion. Will you welcome together Neil Blake and Carl Houdini Morris.
So the players make their way to their respective seats, they settle down, and this really should be quite a fascinating clash. Neil Blake of Wales against Carl Morris of England. Commentary on this remaining quarter-final, Keith Brewer, Alex Evrianidis and Jim White.
Well, thanks, David, and I have to concur, certainly, with Lee Kendall. Very interesting to note that all previous quarter-final matches, very one-sided indeed. I've got a feeling this might be our first nail-biter. Neil Blake from Wales, unseeded here. If on paper you look at an unseeded player facing the tournament's number 2 seed, you can think it can only go one way, but this isn't going to be an easy one to call, if for no other reason because Carl Morris has been struggling. But Neil Blake off the mark very quickly, a beautiful break, and nicely positioned. And I know in chatting with my 2 co-commentators, as we again see Neil Blake cracking into the reds and yellows here, that probably is the highlight of this match, is how ineffective Carl has been, and yet he still finds himself through to the quarterfinals.
30 seconds. Yellow balls to play.
And there you have it, Carl Morris in with the first real opportunity now. Neil Blake just missing that flick into the center pocket. So we're going to have our first look at the former world champion Carl Morris at the table now. Just a couple years ago, wrested the biggest crown in the pool playing world. And they call him Houdini because he has been known to produce a few miraculous escapes. That was a nifty little shot right there, just developing the yellows. And Keith, Carl has to take his chances here. Being a decided favorite, important to set the ground early.
Yeah, it's not always easy being the favourite. I remember when I've played in some of the matches on TV, it's always nicer really when you're the underdog. When I lost to Carl in the final, of course I was the favourite to beat Carl, and I found it a little bit intimidating. But even though Carl's only 23 years old, he really has got an old head on young shoulders, and he's quite experienced even at this tender age.
And there's his dad, Jim Morris, and Jim just happens to be the team manager of the England side, of which Carl is one of the mainstays. And certainly he'll be out there rooting very hard for his son, as will Carl's mother, just to Jim's right.
These yellows look pretty good, Jim, but I can't see much happening with the black ball. I don't think it passes down past the red.
Well, he heard you, Alec. Went right after that black. Showing confidence, and no one rooting harder for Carl than his girlfriend right there. I'm sure she'll be on pins and needles until this one comes to a conclusion.
Well, it's not a bad result, Jim. He's got the shot at the top left-hand corner, which, if he can pull that off, will certainly leave him a good opportunity to pot the lot. The yellow does just drift into the centre near the black, and if he can get reasonably straight on it, he will have the black down in the bottom corner.
30 seconds.
He's opting for the double. Well, that's not bad.
Great shot there.
He played into the red beautifully there, didn't he? Just the left-hand side of the red to get on the right side of the table there, yes, for that straight pot.
And you notice, too, he doesn't have the forefinger looped over the cue, as most players do when they bridge from the side cushion. A la Tony Knowles of the snooker world. And now Carl trying to zero in on victory here in this opening frame.
30 seconds.
Almost a bit far, Jim. I think he has snookered himself on that.
Looks like just a slight swerve here. But either way, a good pot from Carl, just a little loose on the positional end.
Yeah, he's going to take a little bit of time just to get used to the pace of the table, and also just relax. Yeah.
Just asking the referee there to confirm that it is not, in fact, a total snooker. So cushion will have to be contacted after white contacts the object ball, but he's trying to pot this. And what a shot! What a shot from Carl Morris. Never easy to judge those.
Oh.
Well, half a chance here for Neil Blake now. I think Carl knows that after potting that terrific yellow, he should have slotted that 8 in.
He's just caught that a bit fine, hasn't he, Jim? But you said half a chance for Neil. Well, that's what it is. It's only half a chance. He's got a couple of tough reds there to try and get control of this black. And oh, he's gone straight through. No, now he's looking better, Jim.
Well, the only problem, Red, is the one nearest the black. And the sooner that he can drop on that, the better. And you can see he's tried to get after it right away, and he's not going to be playing it here. But that red will hold the key to victory or defeat for Neil Blake. He counts his biggest disappointment as failure at this stage last year in this very event, the Embassy World Championship. Well, he doesn't want to have to relive that nightmare.
Well, we're all shaking our heads. We don't understand that shot. I think maybe he might have been trying to get behind the red to play it off the black to open up the corner.
Well, Jim, so far in this frame it's a bit tentative, isn't it? Carl's made a couple of unforced errors, which is highlighted by the fact that we've been saying he isn't playing at his best. Normally we'd never see him play such shots. This is a very adventurous shot here from Neil.
It's not something you want to be playing so early in the match when you haven't really got your touch going yet. Maybe a better option would have been the snooker there. Just bounce it off and sit behind the red.
Well, it's the last shot that Neil played in the opening frame. Carl Morris deposits it. It's 1-0 to the former world champion. And again, you know, a little bit of a loose shot from Neil. The chance that he was given, the Reds were in the open. That was a chance he should have taken. And Carl can reflect positively on that opening frame. And there's Carl's girlfriend, and that was just before play started, folks, and there you go. I love you. You can all think about that at home, but there's the man that she was talking to.
Carl Morris to break, leading 1-0. Time running.
Come on, Carl.
And Carl just wants a very quick re-rack. He spotted a couple balls that had just come loose, and very important to have all those balls touching. That way you get a total disbursement when you crack into them. And you can see that front red, it just doesn't want to nestle into the yellow. That's something in American pool that all the top players check vigorously, those top 4 balls, and that's exactly what Carl's doing too. Now all set, he can wind it up.
Great break, Jim. Really developed the balls very well. Plenty of power. As we've said many times before, the break, such a awesome weapon these days, at this level in particular. So important to make a ball on the break and get control.
Yellow balls in play.
Big opportunity here for Carl too, Alec.
Well, I think he's taken the right balls. I think I would have taken the yellows as well. They're all in the open, and he's ended up on probably the ball he should have, so he can get inside them 2 yellows to put one in the opposite centre pocket. Opens up the black nice and beautifully, and basically all just stroke him in. Not a lot of work to be done here.
Well, we've seen Carl play some immaculate pool, and Neil Blake, I'm sure, doesn't want to be on the receiving end of it today. But when Carl starts to get his eye in and gets his tail up and a little bit of confidence in his stride, it's going to take some stopping.
Red balls in play.
I don't know why he's hit that so hard, Jim. You really only just run that through, get a nice little angle on the centre ball.
And that really did look into the center of the pocket. I remember that happening a couple times to Lee Kendall. I think it was just last year. In and out. You saw it circle the pocket. That doesn't happen very often.
But realistically, he hasn't hit the centre of the pocket. He's just caught the rubber on the side. And especially with pace, it's no good. There's another power shot come in, and he's gone way too far on them reds there. Left himself a real tough shot, and he knows it.
Well, I suppose if we were playing tennis, we'd call it an unforced error, because I thought Carl's selection of shot was wrong. He only had to roll the ball into the pocket, really. He didn't have to slam it like that. And also, he played the shot badly.
Some kind of recovery there.
That's a great shot there.
And the timing couldn't have been better for Neil.
He's still got a lot of work to do though, Jim.
One of the things I've noticed about Neil Blake is, having watched him play, especially on the 7-foot tables as well, is he's a very accomplished player, but his positional side of the game isn't A1. And what this means is that he has to pull out good pot after good pot. And I think if we, as we see this match progress on, I think we'll see that more and more, Jim. I've noticed that in particular when I've watched him play. But he is very good at pulling out the big shots one after the other.
Of course, when he's attempting these big pots, he's putting himself under more pressure, and being on television and everything, the pressure just builds immensely. And here you see him going for the tough double. He's got onto the red into the centre pocket, but look what he's left. He's left a clear table for Carl. If he's to put this in, he'll clear the table.
I think last year he played Terry Hunt in the quarter-final, and it was a very similar pattern. He was out of position on a lot of his shots, and he was having to pull out big shots one after the other, and of course he just wasn't making them, and he made it very easy for Terry in the end, and I think he ran out a quite convincing winner.
Yes, when you go to the well once too often, you know, I mean, eventually you're going to get bitten, and I mean, Neil Blake is really asking for a lot. Some of the shots he's had to try and pull out here. This is a game of control.
And if you're out of position, there's always a safety aspect to the game where it maybe chip off and leave your opponent a real tough shot and progress one of your balls. Well, he hasn't even considered that. He's just looked at trying to pot the ball and basically try for the big pot. So he's basically getting what he's asking for.
But again, as Carl pots the 8, this is exactly what he wanted. The Morris camp very happy with the way things are progressing there. It's Carl Morris 2, Neil Blake 0.
So Carl Morris off to a good start, not entirely convincing. Lee Kendall, he's got the lead, but there's been one or two moments of magic, but there was a very strange miss on that middle pocket on the yellow, wasn't there?
Yeah, Carl's just fell out of position, and he's had to force the ball into the middle pocket. He's gone to the top side of the pocket.
If it had gone in the middle to the heart of the pocket, it would have dropped.
If he'd gone to the centre, it would have dropped.
Right.
But because he's had to force a shot, it's come out of the pocket, and he's had to try to do too much with the cue ball. And
Neil's shown us a mixture. I mean, he produced a good shot after a relatively poor shot. It's been a funny mixture, this, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a terrific double.
Yeah, genius shot, big double pulled out. But he's always having to go and pull out the big shots. He's got to settle down, control the cue ball, so he doesn't have to do those shots.
Fine, thank you. Right, they're underway again, so let's go back now to the action.
Well, desperate times early on here for Neil Blake. He hasn't had a chance to settle into this one. And trailing 2-0. And it has to be said, he's breaking well. He had a very good break in his first visit. And again, an early chance for him to try and establish a little confidence. He does have a very good break. A lot of power and with control.
Yellow ball. Yellow ball's nominated.
I think yellows do have the advantage because obviously the one over the bottom left-hand pocket is protecting one of the reds, so if by going yellows,
Yellow ball's in play.
he has control of the table. He's only got really the one bad yellow, which is the one up by the black on the left-hand side, so he's got some options. He can just bring it into play, or he can play up and try and disturb it.
He's got a nice angle here, Keith, with the yellow in the centre of the bottom of the table to try and drift up for the high yellow to knock that off the rail there.
Well, that's what he was attempting, Alec, that's for sure.
Yeah, had he gotten by that red, he would have been nicely situated. Just kisses the red here, and I think you could see by his body language, he was trying to will that cue ball past that red to do exactly what you suggested.
So now this is where it gets a bit tougher. He's got to go to plan B, try and pot another yellow to get an angle on that yellow, and then he's basically running out of balls again, Keith.
I mean, yet again, we have to say the choice of shot here is bridging over the red. He couldn't do anything with the cue ball. He's potted this now. Now it looks like if he's going to pot the one over the bottom left-hand corner, then he's just leaving all the reds open after this shot. And he's still got a yellow completely tied up.
Very funny shot selection again. He's leaving himself where he's going to have to pull a rabbit out of a hat.
I think his only option now is to try and put the yellow over the top left-hand corner and cover the black, because he's got no more balls to knock it out. He can't double the yellow into the centre pocket because the centre pocket's blocked by the red. And a double in the corner is a tough shot, always a tough shot shooting doubles to the corners. So he's got to consider defence here. I think that's what he attempted, but...
Well, again, he left himself in a position where he had to try and do that, and with one mistake, had he left that yellow bottom left, that would have been in his insurance policy. Now he's got to book a new one.
Jumped up off his cue there. He didn't feel confident with that at all.
You're right, like he was up on his shot very early. I mean, the shot he was attempting was virtually impossible, to be quite honest. And even if he had made the pot into the centre pocket, which he was attempting, he had no position whatsoever, and this just seems to be the mainstay of his game so far.
That's what makes the game so interesting, I think, where you've got a good blend of attacking pool and a good blend of defensive pool, and that's where you get so many different games of 8-ball. It intrigues us to keep playing the game because it is so different. Every frame is so different, and you've really got to decide what the balls tell you to do rather than what you think you're going to do, which is what Neil thinks. He's going to just pot out every shot, but if the balls aren't on, you can't always attempt that.
30 seconds.
Well, applause, but obviously Carl not happy.
I think what Carl's trying to do was maybe get an angle on the red on the top rail to maybe try and kiss the yellow away from the black, just to make it a bit more accessible. And has gone a fraction too far, which has left him a tough shot to clear the yellow, so he's going to have to try and work out a different route to it.
30 seconds.
Either way, right now, he's in no real danger because Neil Blake's one yellow nearest the black, not available, not without being doubled.
I think Carl was lining up the red for the centre pocket, but how is he going to get on the black with the red on the bottom left-hand corner?
It would seem to me that during the clearance on the reds, Carl's been obsessed with trying to move this yellow just below the black, but to be quite honest, there isn't really any need to do it. He can pot the reds and just attain position. If he leaves the cue ball approximately where it is now, it's quite easy to pot the black. And it's always interesting to watch the styles of different players. And I think when you watch the styles of the likes of Quintin Han, for example, he wouldn't be trying to move this ball. He just moves the cue ball into position, because there's one golden rule, is when you start cannoning into object balls on the table, you're never guaranteed to have A1 position. And if you watch someone like Quintin play, you won't ever see him do it unless he has no option whatsoever.
And to be honest, I didn't like his shot selection there. I think he could have taken the long red to leave himself fairly straight in the top right corner, and he could have stopped the cue ball roughly where that red was. So he's made his work a little harder. All about position here. And there you go. He went the hard way there.
Most definitely, Jim.
And when you're not playing well and not confident, these things happen. We saw what Chris Melling did in dismantling Terry Hunt early on. Very confident, was leaving a lot of things to chance, and everything went well because he was very confident. But this is a tough shot here.
Well, it doesn't get much closer without going in. It was a good attempt.
No, it's quite incredible. It hasn't dropped. I think he's actually caught the cushion first, and he hasn't got a clear contact. And if you look, it's actually cut the black away from the cushion slightly.
Great double there by Neil. Just left him that tough shot, and he's pulled it out again.
Would you believe it? He did all the work again, only to gift wrap it for Carl Morris. Well, that's the second in a row. Neil Blake is really suffering right now, but Carl Morris on top of the mountain, 3-0 ahead of Blake at this stage in this quarterfinal. But these are the kind that unless you end up winning the match, you don't forget. There's Terry Hunt, beaten quarterfinalist here and a finalist last year in this event, and I think he can sympathize a little bit with Neil Blake. Terry had a few opportunities against Chris Melling and threw them aside.
Fourth frame, Carl Morris to break, leading 3 frames to 0.
Already frame number 4 of a possible 17. This our 4th quarterfinal to complete the semifinal lineup.
Well,
the winner here will go on to face Chris Melling. And at this stage, it's 3-0 to the man just leaving the table on a negative note there, Carl Morris.
Well, I think he's got a choice of either colours here, Jim. They both look pretty good, but you'd have to tend to think you'd go for the red there, with the even though the red in between the 2 yellows is a bit blocked, but he's got the yellow over the red over the centre pocket to lead on to that red, so it all looks pretty clean. There's nothing wrong with that. He's got a nice angle there, just to plot that red slowly in the middle, to cut the red into the centre pocket and knock into the yellow, so it should hold it up for the red into the left-hand corner. Although he's hit that a bit firm.
I find that quite incredible. Like he's only had to roll it in to leave the angle that you've just described, and he's played it there with much too much force. And
well, he's been very fortunate. He does seem to test fate a little bit, doesn't he, Neil? Again, cannoning into balls. If cue ball doesn't hit the 8, might be out of position, and if the yellow doesn't slide by the red, he's in trouble. Well, in the end, he should be home and dry now. 8 left center. And that has to be a boost of confidence for Neil Blake. Finally, he puts a frame on his side of the score sheet. 3-1 to Carl Morris. And it all came about by virtue of a poor break from Carl Morris. That let Neil Blake in. And with it, he can complete his first victory. Well, he has to be feeling a little better with himself. Still, negative thoughts have to be churning through his mind. And Carl Morris really hasn't played great. He's still 3-1 in front.
5th frame, Neil Blake.
Well, unfortunately,
break,
Neil's given him two chances
to 1.
each frame, apart from the last one.
Yeah, when you're playing at this level, you just cannot afford to give your opponent more than one good chance a frame, because usually if you give him a second, then you're going to be struggling. I have to say, the guys are really breaking well in this match. That in particular has got to be said. Breaking the balls, the power they're putting into the breaks.
You almost can't believe there's 6 pockets on that table. And this is about 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Red and yellow on the right-hand side of the table, both unpottable at this time, so difficult to say which color. Looks like reds, if for no other reason, the easier starter for Carl.
Red balls in play.
Well, he's had a good look at these reds, and I'm not so sure they go. I think he's just going to elect to cover the pocket here.
Yellow balls in play.
Well, at least to some degree anyway.
Yeah, I think Carl was just happy to sit back there and put the pressure back straight onto Neil, knowing he's 3-1 down. And I think Carl's very interested to see what Neil is going to do here, because we know Neil doesn't want to defend and doesn't want to play any defending shots. He'll correct straight away. He's gone to knock out the tough ball, and really he's still got 2 hard yellows on the bottom row.
Well, Alec, actually, I mean, he could actually go for the finish here, because he can take the yellow down and play it off the red. That's what he played for there, but he's not played it particularly well. Well, he's just weighing this up now. If he can play this off the red and into the pocket, he's going to open up everything.
Has to be judged perfectly, though. And it was. Great shot from Neil Blake there. This is the sort of form that got him into this quarterfinal. Well, that one barely threatened the corner after such a good effort.
But it was a tough shot, Jim. It was a tough shot.
Well, all this stemmed back a couple of shots ago, because when he's played the ball down, he should have had better position. And then what happened was, obviously, he's lost position on the next ball and so on and so on. And when it got to this particular shot, of course, he was trying virtually the impossible.
And the reds are all there for Carl Morris.
Well, he's got to take the red on the rail there on the right-hand side, obviously being straight behind it now. If he's considering to pot out, he must take it now. But Carl's a funny player to watch, because he'll look at every ball on the table and go back to the first one he looked. So he just checks out everything. He doesn't want to miss anything. Not easy, them shots. He's played that all right. That was a good shot there. So now it's just down to the one red on the left-hand cushion, which is his only trouble ball. But I think if he plays that for last, he'll have a nice, easy positional shot for the black, which is directly in the opposite centre.
As Neil doesn't look like a happy camper at this moment. He's giving Carl far too many opportunities.
It's not just that, Jim. He's not just giving him opportunities, he's giving him very good opportunities. Because every time that he's making a mistake, he's leaving the balls in the open just too easy for Carl.
I think Carl's quite happy to pot this red and then the red over the corner, and maybe put the other red up to the top left-hand corner. But look at that, he's missed that. I think he's hit his hand on the table there, Jim. Did you see him look at the table there?
Yes, he did. As soon as he played the shot, his backhand, well, didn't look like he did.
He gave it a severe dirty look, though.
It's funny, the pattern of certain games, Jim, and you've probably seen quite a few in your life, where if one player is playing particularly badly or struggling, it can affect the other player. And then if one's making unforced errors, the other one starts making unforced errors, and it's just a pattern that they can't seem to get out of.
Well, this is why we so often allude to that killer instinct that's inherent in all the top players. You know, when they get an opponent down, they kick him, they put him out of his misery. This has been a story of peaks and valleys, really. And a nice shot there, using the red to hold position on the 8. And this to pull one more back. Well, the storyline just keeps changing. And this is incredible. I don't know what else to say. You two both got your hands down. What you're seeing, you can scarcely believe.
Well, he's actually miscued that shot. The white's jumped, and he's hit on top of the black. He's probably lucky to have connected with the cushion. You can see him there trying to forget about it straight away, and if he's going to get out of this match, he's really just got to forget about the start of this match and get on with the rest of it.
That's easier said than done. Carl Morris takes the 8, and with it, enjoying a 4-1 lead. His opposition is really suffering, and he benefited from a very bad mistake from Neil Blake. 4-1 to Carl Morris.
Yes, Neil Blake up against it, really, and a strange mix in that frame. Lee Kendall, we were watching that. The good, the bad, and the ugly there, wasn't there? I mean, there was one very brave shot which paid off, and a couple of shockers.
What you seem to find is Neil will play a brilliant shot, and he'll follow it right with a bad shot. He plays a brilliant shot, yellow down the cushion, in off the red.
Yeah, that looked terrific.
Back in with a chance, and straight away he misses. And you just feel that if he's going to take anything out of this match, he's got to start learning. Concentrate.
And then with the black at his mercy.
He screws it, puts too much bottom on it, miscues, tension in the arm, just letting himself down, really.
Frustrating thing for him is he knows that it's going wrong, but he doesn't seem to be able to do much about it. He's shaking his head as if he's baffled.
He's in the quarter-final. He's beat one of the top players in the world, Keith Brewer. He's got a chance to do his stuff on the television, and he's just not producing it.
So, poor old Neil up against it. Let's go back now and see how he'll shape up in this next frame.
Well, I can tell you one thing with the utmost certainty, that the man sat beside me, Keith Brewer, is not enjoying this. Watching the man that put him out of the tournament commit so many unforced errors. It can't be easy to watch, Keith, much less commentate on.
I can't believe it, honestly, I can't, because when he played me, he hardly missed a ball in the whole match. He was fantastic, honestly, and I was 7-6 up, and I didn't get a shot in the last 2 frames, and he's took out 2 finishes from absolutely nowhere. And if he could relive that form here, he would just probably be running away with this match by now. I just cannot believe what I'm watching.
Well, he's taken the yellows here and kissed out the hard yellows from the rails, but unfortunately he hasn't left himself the next shot. It's left himself a real tough cut over the other corner.
30 seconds.
I think he's happy with that.
Yes, quite content to put a goalkeeper over that one.
I think Carl's realised he hasn't got to do a lot in this match, because if you just look at the pattern, all he's got to do is now play 1 or 2 clever shots, just cover this pocket, cover that pocket, and just wait for Neil to go and commit suicide.
Well, he's been
got to do.
It's exactly right, Keith. He's been his own worst enemy to this stage.
30 seconds.
It hasn't been a story of what Carl has done as opposed to what Neil has given him.
Well, there's the first defensive shot I've seen Neil play, and probably the right shot on that occasion. So maybe he's turning his tune around.
Well, certainly a very scrappy looking table as we look here. Frame number 6, 4-1 to Morris. The first player to 9 through to the semifinals.
30 seconds.
And with that semifinal berth, guaranteeing themselves of 2,500 pounds.
That was a great shot played there. By Carl. He's kicked the red out of the corner, but Neil's going to have to play a better shot to double the red back inside again. He's hit that far too hard and got a spread on the top cushion. And have a look at the yellows again. All nice and open for Carl.
And Keith Brewer just can't stop shaking his head. Is this the same man that put me out of the tournament? Well, he's got to start getting it right, Keith. If he's going to do the match against you any justice. The eventual winner here, the 2000 Embassy World 8-Ball Pool Champion, will pocket 10,000 pounds.
30 seconds.
And more importantly, the title.
Great shot that. Certainly put them all quite potable now. That was his only hard yellow, and he's played a beautiful plant into the centre pocket.
Now, if this 8 above the red, the bottom of the table, if it passes to the left, then Carl can remove those 2 yellows. It doesn't look like it does, so he will want to leave one of those to the end. That will afford the easiest position onto the 8. Not the cleanest hit you're going to see from Carl Morris, but safely deposited, much to his relief.
Eight.
He's having a good look here, but there's only one ball he can play, and that's the one he's just chosen. So he can be painful to watch sometimes, especially when you're on the receiving end, because you know it's ABC, and he knows it, but he just takes his time. And I suppose that's what made him a world champion for one time. Just checks and reassesses and makes sure he's taking the right balls.
Yeah, case in point. This relatively simple 8 for a 5-1 lead over Neil Blake. Confirmation of that scoreline. Carl Morris motoring on for a place in the semifinals and a date with Chris Melling. 5-1 ahead of Neil Blake. And it's only a matter of time before Morris really does start to display the form that brought him a world championship just 2 years ago. Especially, Keith, I think you talked about a little bit earlier. He's going to start understanding that he's going to feel like he's bulletproof. Neil Blake is just not firing, and eventually Jim Morris, his dad, is going to be taking pictures of his son through to the semifinals. Certainly if this rate continues.
This is certainly turning into a good match for Carl, because he's able to pick up some form and not play under a lot of pressure. Neil's not putting him under any pressure, and he's just getting a run out there, basically.
Neil Blake's break, trailing 5 frames to 1.
Well, he's going to need a little help now. Good break. Would certainly get things off on the right foot.
Open table.
Come on, Carl.
He's been breaking very well, but as is the case so often in this game of 8-ball pool, when things aren't going your way, Lady Luck decides not to play her cards in your favor either.
The breaks have been fantastic as well, Jim, because both sets are coming out. Sometimes, you know, when they get good breaks, one set is always there predominantly better than the other. But this time, I mean, both sets are there every single time. The balls are really breaking well.
Well, every quarterfinal has been a one-sided affair. I mentioned earlier that of all 4, this one looked like it could possibly present us with one that would keep us on the edge of our seats, and to this stage, that hasn't materialized. It's not been the highest standard, but having said that, both of these so capable. They can light it up at any time.
Carl's looking pretty good here again. You can certainly see the finish here. Just this red on the bottom right and across for the red onto the other bottom left-hand corner. And a soft red into the same right-hand corner, and black in the center. Looks pretty basic. From here, of course.
30 seconds.
That's how basic it looks behind your back.
Or a step ladder. And that almost went wrong.
Well, I think it has, Jim, and as far as I'm concerned, he got what he deserved.
Yeah, it was a bit of a show-off shot. I mean, I know it's an easy match for him, but this is absolutely silly. I mean, any other player would have just got the rest.
He's got away with it.
I don't know if this 8 passes left center. If it does, that's what he'll be playing. And there you can see, especially with the nap in his favor, so he'll just be rolling this in.
Wrong again, Jim. I can't understand that.
No, I'm really surprised that he did that. He never even came and had a look to see if that 8 passed. No. Well, the 8 goes down. Carl Morris takes the frame, but not without a few anxious moments, I'm sure. 6-1, he leads Neil Blake in this, our last quarterfinal. Well, he made this a lot harder than it could have been. Again, if that would have double kissed that yellow and gone the other way, he wouldn't have been able to see the 8 that he eventually potted there.
I can't understand it. Can you? I mean, to play a shot from behind your back, would he have done that if it was 5-1 down? Or and then to go around and not even look at the black in the centre pocket and nearly underscrew and snooker yourself on it? I mean, he's not even under pressure, and this is what's happening. I can't understand it, really.
Eighth frame, Carl Morris to break, leading 6 frames to 1.
Frame number 8. And we join Carl Morris breaking off now, enjoying a 6-1 lead.
Open table.
And one of the many opportunities that has presented itself to Neil Blake. He just hasn't been able to take advantage. That's the reason the scoreline is so one-sided.
So what do you like here, Keith? You've got to take the yellows here, do you think?
Well, I was just... The key to this is this little cluster just below the black. There's 2 reds and 2 yellows. They all pop, but it's just a matter of getting position on all of them.
Play.
It's really even Stevens here, but...
Rest, please.
Time out.
There'll be no behind-the-back shots for Neil Blake.
We just don't want to see him leave them balls for last, Keith, and make it so hard for him to get on them later with no balls left to get there with. He's got to do it early and get them out of the way.
Well, I suppose if he wants to play a slight attacking shot, if he just screws this back as he pots the one into the centre pocket, he could actually roll the cue ball down into that little cluster, and knowing the way Neil plays, I would imagine that's what he'll probably do.
Yes, but my point is he's got to do it now, not for the last ball. So now he's looking at playing onto the centre ball, and he's really got to open up the pack now or get in there now. So he's got that ball just in case something goes wrong.
30 seconds.
Well, he plays it his own way, doesn't he? He's leaving it all till last, like you're saying he shouldn't do, but that's the way he's played the whole game.
But we're talking about someone that's beat one of the best players in the UK to come out here and play all different. You know, he's beaten you, and to come out and play it all different is so strange.
Well, to be honest, I mean, he kind of plays slightly similar on the 7-foot table, but obviously on that table he knows what he's doing to a degree. He's out here on an 8-foot table that he obviously never ever plays on, and as our viewers probably are aware that we do move up to an 8-foot table when we come to the TV stages, and some of the players just don't seem to be happy and confident with it. And I know in my early years, Jim, that I really did struggle with the 8-foot table. I'm not a lover of it. And he just doesn't look happy playing on this size of table.
Well, the Australians, when they've come over, we were actually quite happy to go to the bigger table, because we were finding on the small table, the 15 reds, you just didn't leave a lot of room and you had to be more precise with your position. But with the bigger table, there's more area on the table, and you don't have to be as precise. Admittedly, the pots are a little bit harder because they're further away, but you don't have to be as perfect with your position.
Well, I think it's just a matter of Neil Blake leaving himself too much to do. His shot selection is poor, and sometimes nerves can manifest themselves in various ways. And this certain example, I think Neil's just not got his thinking cap on. He's had a few anxious moments earlier on in this match, and the snowball just started rolling down the hill for him. Everything compounding everything else. It's so easy to sit here and watch, you know, but when you're in a rut as he is, to try and pull yourself out is so difficult.
You see Carl there getting the red off early. You must be considering getting the balls off out of the way, making it all very easy for you. That's another good shot there. He's basically got this frame sewn up already, Jim. 3 very simple pots with an easy black.
It's all you can ever ask when you step out to a match, is you just want to feel like you've had a chance. And if you don't take it, well, so be it. Jim Morris knows that his son's had more than his few share of chances, and he's taken them better than his opposition.
That. He hasn't turned up straight, but he's got a nice angle just to run through a little bit to put the black in the other centre pocket. So just a matter of judging pace here. and it's only perfectly dead straight.
Well, it's a one-way street right now, and it's headed straight towards Carl Morris. He leads Neil Blake 7-1 in this race to 9.
Well, it's an impressive scoreline, but you have to say, don't you, Lee, that Carl, I mean, not so much winning it, it's Neil losing it.
Yeah, he's given out more presents than Father Christmas this year. He's got to settle down into this match. If he doesn't start producing some form, the match will be over.
He is almost unrecognisable from the player that's got this far. I mean, he's totally different. He seems to have just lost it.
He's a great player. He's just got to settle, come back from this such vast scoreline, and produce some form.
But Carl must be thinking to himself, I'm playing badly, which he is by his own standards, but he's got a fantastically comfortable lead.
Well, Carl will be over the moon. Carl cannot believe that he's come into this match. He hasn't had to play anything like his best form, and he got such a big lead.
And it's easy money in the bank. He's already thinking about winning this and going through, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, exactly.
Absolutely right. So there we are. The players are taking a break. We'll take a short break. Come back in a couple of minutes and see if we can turn this sensational performance or sensational result at the moment. It's 7-1. Who knows how it's going to finish up? Stay with us. You'll find out in a couple of minutes. Back then to Blackpool. Carl Morris of England with a convincing lead at the moment over Neil Blake of Wales in the one remaining quarter-final here at Blackpool in this World 8-Ball Pool Championship. Lee Kendall, is there any chance at all for Neil, or has he virtually had it?
Well, he's got to find some form from somewhere. He has virtually had it, but he needs now to pull out something out of the bag and just keep trying. That
something presumably is a miracle, because although Carl's not playing that well, he's got such a good lead at the moment.
Well, the only bonus for Neil is Carl isn't playing well. So if you can put any pressure on Carl, then he's got a chance. But he needs to improve his game, his positional play, and start taking some chances.
What will he have been doing in the break? Just trying to focus his thoughts on these next few minutes?
Well, he should be thinking to himself, let's enjoy this match. I'm a long way behind. Let's try and put myself in a position where I can take something out of the match.
Yeah, and he needs to be a very positive starter in the restart that's just about to happen.
Yes, it'd be nice if he could get off to a good start and settle into the match again.
OK, right, let's then go back to the action, see what happens. Rejoin Jim White.
Well, to my way of thinking, it's all about playing for respectability right now. I think that is exactly what Neil has to content himself with. Try to make this match respectable, scoreline speaking. He's breaking off here, frame number 9. We also have what's known as the loser's stroke, which is where if you basically concede the match in your mind, well, then there should be no more pressure. You've got nothing to lose. You can let that back arm fly. And apart from all that, Alec, I basically think you can turn Neil over. He's done.
Well, if you consider he's thinking about the loosening up stroke, I really, if he starts thinking like that, well, he can't win, and that's the last thing he should be thinking. He's proved he's a good enough player. He made it at the quarterfinals last year. Why not turn it around? Why not give everyone a shock and get out there and win some frames and then put some pressure back on Carl?
Well, he's giving us absolutely no reason to believe that he can all of a sudden produce the sort of form that would get him back into this. I was talking to him during the break, and he said he's just going to go out and take it one ball and one frame at a time. That's the way you approach it from the outset. At 7-1 down, it is so difficult to be able to put all those negative things that have happened to you in this match out of your mind, and his face really says it all. But Keith, as you and I were talking about as well in the interval, is, you know, these people are human. These players do make mistakes. It doesn't always flow the way it has in our first 3 quarterfinals, where the winners have produced superlative form. Sometimes you win and win ugly.
Yeah, and basically that goes for any sport, Jim, not just this one. I mean, as we were saying, you know, sometimes you can go and watch 2 fantastic football teams play, and they just play out a 0-0 draw because they just cancel each other out. And that happens from time to time, obviously. Neil said to me that he felt a lot better this year because he'd been in the quarters last year and he'd experienced the TV and everything, and you know, he just thought he was ready, but I just don't think he is. He just plays exactly the same as what he did last year.
Time running.
Well, there's one of them shots you were talking about, Jim. He's just lashed out and had a go, and no control with the white and straight in off.
Well, that shot was played like a man that wants to get home for the 9 o'clock movie. He just doesn't really have any desire, doesn't want to dig in and try and produce a fight back. You never win a match like this unless you try. As long as the odds might seem.
30 seconds.
Matches like this have sometimes gone on to build the person's character and establish his fight back qualities. That probably just picked up a little of the black coloring from the back of the pocket as it flew in. So it looks like they're just changing the cue ball. Mike Perkins, our referee, swapping it off.
Well, there's something that might turn Neil's luck.
Can't hurt.
Well, I know on that roulette wheel, Jim, when they change the white balls or they change the dealers, things change.
Second visit.
So now we know where he's been hanging out last couple of nights, Jim.
Well, this is the red right here. If Carl can get this, and once again, everything should be on a silver platter for him. And he's missed it.
What's wrong with that white ball, Jim?
Yeah, it's the old change the white ball move. Well known in North America, that one. Obviously a newcomer to Britain. When Neil Blake, he's made a few trips across the Atlantic.
No, I don't think there's a lot of damage done there. He's still got complete control of the black, and the 2 yellows are hard on the side rail.
30 seconds.
He hasn't really got a starter ball to even pot. I mean, he's struggling to even pot a ball here.
Well, he struck that one nice, stayed still, and the cue went straight through the white. His action has looked very nervy in the opening session. Wasn't following through. He was almost pulling it back after cue in the white, snatching, and usually a sign of a player that is very much on edge. Well, that wasn't where he wanted to stop. He wanted to be able to take that one yellow up off the red and into the center pocket, and I don't think he's landed on it. Needed to pull that cue ball back a little bit.
And now he's going for a real tough shot here. It's come off, he's played it well. But he's given the foul away, potted the red in the bottom right-hand corner. I think he's a bit unlucky there. I really, he's played a good shot and just lost control of the white ball.
Well, it never rains, but it pours. And 2 visits now to Carl Morris, and if he gets this red, it's not in, but he's still very much in the driver's seat here. Second visit in play, and just look at the reds. Mind you, lest we forget, Alec, we've got the different cue ball in there.
Well, he hasn't potted a ball since it's been on the table. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's still round, Jim.
30 seconds.
Keith is still speechless on the way Neil's playing. He really hasn't got a lot to say here. Come on, Keith, what do you got to say?
It's quite embarrassing to watch, to be quite honest. But to be fair to Neil, I mean, I've known him a good few years, and he is a good player. He is a great player, believe me. He just doesn't look settled at all. He just doesn't look in the game. He doesn't look focused. He has no self-belief. He doesn't believe he can win the game. If you go in with that attitude, you're never going to win.
He fell at this hurdle last year, and one would have thought that that experience would have put him in good stead.
It's all too easy for Carl at the moment with a huge lead on Neil.
And the 8 goes down. Carl Morris now on the brink of victory. 8-1 ahead of Neil Blake. The final 8 deposited. And Carl Morris, I think he knows that the writing is on the wall. Pretty clear-cut storyline now. 8 to play. And the man sat in his chair there and needs every single one of them.
I wonder what Carl would be thinking now. I mean, this isn't a real good lead-up to the next match.
Leading 8 frames to 1.
He really hasn't been put under any pressure, and he must be thinking, well, I'm getting away with all this, but I'm not really playing that well. I guess he's just happy to be there.
Well, this is one where you concentrate on survival and live to play on.
Come on, Carl.
It was a good break from the side of the table. I think he just changed it to there, didn't he? Is that the first time he's broken from there?
It is the first time he's broke like that, yeah.
No, I think he actually went second ball down, which is something that the players turn to sometimes if they're not potting a ball off the break from the centre.
And one of the other reasons they tend to do it, Alec, is when they keep going in off. Some of the players do have problems when they're trying to put a lot of power in, because they keep going in off into the middle pockets especially, and they just do that to make sure that they control the cue ball better.
Isn't it amazing how you think you're changing your break, but you still seem to find that same centre pocket in off break after break, and you're trying to aim at somewhere different, but it just keeps on going in there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he's just taking that opportunity to bring his one bad red into play. Played it as a double to nothing. There's a couple of yellows on the left-hand side rail that are obviously going nowhere, and he probably feels in his heart, even if they were all over the pockets, he'd be getting back to the table. So just waits for a better opportunity.
Well, he's tied up the 8 there, Keith. Sorry.
I was just going to say, he's actually played one good safety shot. I mean, if he'd have played like this from the beginning, you know, it could have been a different ball game here, Jim.
Well, Carl Morris does have the benefit of knowing that Neil's 2 yellows on the left-hand cushion, they're wedged together, will have to be developed.
Good shot by Carl there. He's nearly got the snooker, and he's covered the line of the yellow and the black, so just getting a bit more control back there. You know, Carl knows he only needs this last frame, so he's in no hurry. You can see the white's not going to pass between the 2 reds, but it's obviously not a total snooker because he could hit the yellow near the black, just the edge of the yellow. But he's not going to attempt to play that because he's happy with the black tied up. But I don't think he can afford to give him 2 shots because it's too easy for Carl to pot the red and open up the black.
No, I'm finding it's quite unusual, I like what he's doing here, because he's played a senseless safety shot, give him 2 visits, and of course now he can win the match.
As they are there, Carl doesn't even have to pot the red in the right-hand corner and break into the black. He only needs to pot that red and basically get out into the middle of the table, pot the other reds, and have two shots remaining on the black.
You mean like that?
Yeah, basically like that. Now he's got the 3 reds down here. He'll get position back on the top red. He may even consider doubling that red back, but I don't think so.
Just wants to ensure to leave a path in potting this red. He could take the red into the center that he's looking at now, and he wants to ensure to leave the path through to the red nearest the top left corner. There's still a lot of things that can go wrong here, and he knows he's got to keep that second visit in hand for the 8.
He's got a little angle here just to run up towards the centre of the table, so he can't be snookering himself behind the 2 yellows there we see. Well, he's tried for a lot there. He's tried to put the red off the yellow, knock the yellow onto the red, when really he doesn't even have to. I can't understand why he would take that shot on.
All you can say is, Alec, is bad shot selection. I think you called it right. He left a nice angle into the middle, just roll it in, naturally coming up for the red on the rail, and of course still carrying the 2 visits. Didn't have to disturb the black.
Seconds.
There you see him trying to kiss the black out, misses it, and now it's snookered. So maybe things are turning for Neil here. He might be able to slide in there and pick up a couple of frames.
Well, such a long road back.
Well, Neil's in no hurry. He's happy to sit and wait and pick them up one at a time.
Here we go, Massey shot. More than one cloth has been ripped in attempting this.
Don't think he needs to play any shot like this. Just make sure he hits the red. Don't give the 2 shots away. It's easy to come off the bottom cushion there, just rest up to the red.
He's trying to pot it, Keith.
Well, I thought he hit it.
I think he just nicked it, yeah. I don't think the umpire was in the appropriate position to just see that red ball just rock. I think it just rocked a bit.
Just scraped the paint, as we say.
So that ended up being 1 visit to Neil. But he's still looking all right. Here, we might just see it move.
Yes, it did just move, but only just in last year's paint.
Well, another safety shot from Neil. Very good shot indeed.
A little tougher to hit this one, Keith.
Well, it's not too bad. It's about all he could do from there.
Yeah, well, there was no point leaving the yellow there blocking the red. He had to at least keep some pressure on Neil and move that yellow away from in front of the red. And Neil here with 2 shots, well, you would think he's going to attempt to pot out. He's got a nice angle here to kiss out the black away from that yellow now that he's got 2 shots. Wasn't quite right.
Well, he definitely looks to be carrying his 2 visits to that yellow nearest the black. Just a question of whether he can develop into a potable position.
This is where you've got to decide whether do I try and pot the 2 balls and just have 2 on the yellow, or do I get an angle on one of the yellows to knock out the black away from it. It just depends. If you think that the angles are right and you should, well, do it the easy way.
He might have a bit of an angle here to just nudge into it. Won't be hitting it at pace, though. Just try and clear it a little bit. That's why I didn't think he'd be hitting it at pace.
Well, he's not just hit it at pace, has he? He's actually played it well off target. If you look very clearly, you can see it catch the cushion at least 4 to 5 inches before the pocket.
Tried to pinch the pocket, Keith, and make a little more angle than presented itself.
pretty hard to pinch the pocket from an angle like that. There's no pocket there at the present.
Can play a good safety. There's a couple of ways. Just tap off the ball like he's doing now. He could actually clip off the other yellow and come behind the yellow he's just played. And it's another very poor shot.
I think he's left the red on, and Carl's having a look to see if the 8's available. It's been a cavalcade of errors. Where's the cue ball here? The long 8, bottom right for the match.
Well, I suppose all in all, it's a pretty good shot, because if the black doesn't go, he's had to get the cue ball up behind the black, and that he's managed to do. Got the choice of both bottom pockets now.
Yeah, you're right, Keith. I think we missed that point. We all thought it might have gone in the corner, but he's played a great shot to get there.
Where's the white? Down to the same corner, the 8 went in, and Carl Morris has taken out Neil Blake in a convincing fashion, 9 frames to 1, and he will meet Chris Melling in the bottom half semi-final.
Well, the result is terrific, isn't it? 9-1 for Carl Morris, but really the way in which it came about wasn't too impressive. He won't be deceived, I'm sure. He knows he could have played a lot better. Lee Kendall, I'm sure he is honest enough to know that that margin of victory is hugely flattering.
Well, you can see on his face he's won 9-1. He doesn't look happy.
No.
He's got to take himself to one side and try and get himself ready for the semi-final now.
Yeah, and just a quick word for our loser, Neil Blake. I mean, terrible performance from him, really, to be honest with you. He was so disappointing.
Well, it's his second quarter-final. I was hoping a little bit better would come this year than what happened last year, but yet again...
Actually, on his player profile, I was looking at it earlier, he filled it in, and he said that was his worst moment as a pro, the experience in last year's quarter-final, and this really has just continued that nightmare.
Yeah, I think this one will be on next year.
Do you think so?
Unfortunately, yes.
And just briefly, how do you reckon Carl is going to make out for it? He's got to really get himself in hand pretty quick, hasn't he?
Well, for me, there's only one winner of the semi-final, Chris Melling. Carl's got to play extremely well to stop him.
OK, let's just confirm then the results now we've completed the quarter-finals here. Quinton Hann, of course, the defending champion, convincingly a victory over Danny Kinney 9-2. Jason Twist beating our guest today, Lee Kendall, 9-5. Chris Melling absolutely overpowering Terry Hunt 9-2. And Carl Morris, well, the winning verdict even more decisive, but it was a strange sort of performance. Anyway, he's through. Neil Blake is out. So there we are, that's it for now from all of us here at Blackpool. Hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you're with us next time. In the meantime, from all of us here, for now, it's goodbye.